In today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got started in ball pythons and in particular how I chose the first genes I wanted to work with. Ball pythons, you'll see there are just an insane number of genes and realistically you're not going to learn. So where are you going to start? Well, the obvious place, there's loads of great channels out there and some of them go into quite a lot of detail on individual morphs, not only looking at the morph itself, but also the different combinations you can make, different ways you can use each gene, and also some of the issues you might want to watch out for, some genetic defects, lethal combinations, that kind of thing. So they're really helpful, really useful. Of course, you could always go back to books, a more traditional way of doing it. These are 3 books that have been recommended to me. I haven't actually read any of them. They're all quite expensive and you get really good information. Mostly what I've done. Social media, there's specific pages set up for, there are hundreds and hundreds of reptile groups on Facebook and Reddit, loads of Instagram pages with kind of cool photos of different morphs, so that'll give you some ideas of how you might want to work or what you might want to work with. Then there's online forums, so ballpythons.net is probably the biggest one that I've found. Most of the people on there are pretty helpful. And then I've shown the IHS. There are probably similar organizations in whatever country you're watching this from, but I'm based in the UK, so we have the IHS. Now obviously you're not going to learn all the morphs, so while you can spend forever taking in all that information, researching, learning about all the different morphs, sometimes it's best to just jump straight in. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways that I found to get started. The first way I used was to look into single genes, look at single morphs, to do with them. So to do that, I started on Morph Market, put a ball python in here with just the one trait, so we can look at an individual gene and for sale, and I just looked in my country so I could, which is the UK, so I could see what is available that I can actually buy. Okay, and this brings up a huge list of snakes. Obviously you can sort them by most expensive, least expensive. You can try and find something that really suits your budget. You can go by age or whatever else. Let's have a quick look what we have here. I'll start off with Mojave, because this is quite a common morph and fairly inexpensive. So it's where a lot of beginners will start off. What I would normally do is compare the gene that I'm looking at with a normal. So on the left hand side we have a normal or wild type, and on the right is the Mojave. And the first most obvious difference is the color. The Mojave is a completely different color from the normal, but it's also doing quite a lot to the pattern. You see on the side of the normal ball python you have these they call Roswell grey alien heads, and on the Mojave they're typically split up with some flaming in between, so you get the kind of keyhole pattern rather than the alien head pattern. So now we've chosen the snake that the morph that we're going to work with. Head off over to World of Ball Pythons and go to the morph list. So from here you can type in the morph that you want to work with, and it will bring up all the different combinations that have been registered on World of Ball Pythons. So you can go in, click on the ones that interest you, find out what genes go into each combo, whether those genes are recessive or whether they're dominant. Let's look at a couple here. So we start off with one of my favorites, the GHI Mojave, and this is, as you can see there, it's made up of 2 dominant genes, the GHI and the Mojave. And then we've got lots of different images of this snake, and this is probably my favorite here. Really love those almost solid black sides with the high contrast stripe. And there's a couple more. Let's look at the Lesser Mojave, which is the blue-eyed leucistic, and again we've got 2 dominant genes going in to make up this. And The Mojave is in the blue-eyed leucistic complex, but it doesn't always make a blue-eyed leucistic. So you get things like the purple passion and the mystic potion, which are not quite the same as this. So another example here is a slightly higher end snake. This is the Mojave Highway. The highway is the gravel or asphalt with yellow belly. And this one's got the Mojave mixed in too, so you've got a slightly higher end morph there, still just 3 genes. And now we've got another 3 gene example which is completely different. This is the banana, Mojave and the red stripe. So that's obviously much brighter coloration on this one, so you can go in very different directions with this gene. So that's the first method. Find a gene you like, find some cool combos, some things you want to work with, and then you can start trying to build a breeding group working towards the combos that you want to make. Okay, the other option is to switch things around and start. So from this we'll go back to the morph market search, and we'll have all the traits, and I'm going to order them by most expensive. And you can see at the top here some really expensive snakes. I think a lot of these are some new genes or newish genes, so I haven't seen many strangers before. And we'll have a look at the panda pied. The panda pied is quite a cool morph. This is made up of the piebald, which is a recessive gene, and super black pastel, so it's got 2 copies of the black pastel gene. So it's a 4 gene animal essentially, because you need two recessive pieds to make the visual. So from here let's just have a quick look at this one. This is not the best example of a panda pied. Some of them are a lot more black on them, but it's quite common to see them like this as well, with the low white with just a few patches. So if we go to the calculate button, we can type in panda pied and it will break down the panda pied into its genes. So if you don't know how it's made, you can find out on the calculator. And we'll imagine we're pairing that with the normal, so we can see what we'd get. So with the normal and panda pied, we'd get 100% black pastel het pied. And now ignoring all the inbreeding issues, if we put the offspring to the parents, we would then have let's see, a 25% chance of recreating the visual in the second breeding season. So it's pretty good odds. I mean, a black pastel het pied would probably quite hard to come by because people will be using those to make this combo. But you can also play around with the calculator and try different combinations depending on what's available. So if we've got a super black pastel het pied with the black pastel het pied, you've got a 1 in 8 chance of recreating the visual panda pied, which is reasonably good odds. You could get that in your first season, but probably a fair chance of getting it in your second season at least. Okay, so that's another way of working out how to find the best ball python for you, how to find which genes you want to work with. Start off with a combo, break it down into the individual genes, and then you can find the genes that are available within your budget and your area. For me, that's basically how I got started. I'm going to probably do a quick update video on my breeding progress, which is at the moment just shopping for pythons. I've bought a few, and if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see some pictures of them popping up on there. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, click the bell icon, all that stuff. Okay, one other thing to add. After you've done all this, always research genes before you invest in them. Quite a lot of ball pythons have genetic problems and other kinds of issues, so you're going to want to find that out before you start buying.